Hi, good afternoon everybody. This is Veeraswamy, Social Studies PGT, COE Nalakanche. Dear students, let us start our lesson with a small story. In 2040, a boy is main character in this story. One day, the boy scrolled a glass of water. Immediately his father rushed to him and scolded him at anger. Do you know what is the cost of this glass of water? 100 rupees you are wasted. But boy fell with sad, sit aside. Immediately his grandma came to him and consoled. And then she started telling about her childhood in the village. In the olden days, there was plenty of water in the tanks and nearby the streams nearby the village. All are filled with full of water because of there was a sufficient rainfall during those days. Then we used to go there for swimming and fishing. And she told that they were used to draw water for drinking in their home, in their own wells. Immediately the boy's eyes were tranquil. He thought that how lucky enough those generations are. This lesson is answer to the boy's doubts. Today we are going to discuss and learn about the sustainable development. What is the sustainable development? How can we define it? The sustainable development is complex. It has different dimensions. The sustainable development has economical dimensions, social dimensions, and environmental dimensions. The sustainable development can be we define as present development without compromising the ability of future generation needs to meet their own needs. That means if we used all the resources at present for our development, we should not able to give any of the resources for the future generations. So that if we followed these methods, that means sustainable methods, or if we preserve the resources for future generations, they may not face any problem like the boy in the story. Here Mahatma Gandhi, our father of nation, give a quotation: earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. That means the nature is provided everything for the necessities of the people, but by the greedy of the people, we are destroying all resources. We are unable to give them to the future generations. Okay, let us discuss clearly about development and its dimensions. We have already told about the economical dimensions, social dimensions, and the environmental dimensions. Now, we are going to discuss about the ideas of development and aspirations. The people may have different aspirations and ideas for their development goals. In the same way, every society and each and every society may have some aspirations and goals for their development. In the same way, every nation is also having certain goals and ideas about their development. So, let us discuss about all these aspirations and goals of the government and the people. First of all, let us discuss about the aspirations of the government. The government has its aspiration and goals to develop its people. For example, the per capita income of the people, the health facilities, and the education, and all those things. For example, the government is intended to improve the life quality of the people. The government given importance to the goals such as education. And if the government is proposed to develop its people in the aspects of the health, the government gives importance to the health system and establishment of hospitals and schools and colleges and so on. In this way, to eradication of the poverty, the government has to make different statutes or may take different steps to eradication of the poverty. In the same way, reduction of the unemployment, like this, so many aspirations and goals are there for the government. In the same way, let us discuss about the different people and their goals and aspirations. For example, we take a prosperous farmer in the village. That means he is economically potential, so that he is having good economic sources, so that he is thinking about good education for their children. So, he may be studied their children in the cities or in the public schools. In the future, he would like to send his children to abroad for higher studies. In the same way, let us take one more farmer, a tenant farmer. Who is the tenant farmer here? Tenant farmer is a person who takes land for rent and cultivate the land. He is known as the tenant farmer. But both are the farmers. But these two farmers' aspirations, ideas are different. The tenant farmer think that one day he would like to become the owner of the land. In the same way, let us take another example, landless agricultural laborers in the rural areas. Generally, they are thinking about the regular employment, because if they do not have the regular employment, they don't get their livelihood, so that they are thinking about always regular employment. Then after attaining this goal, they are try to better wages. After attaining this goal, they are thinking about the reasonable working hours. In the same way, let us take some more example. A girl from a rich family, she is always thinking about as equal as liberty of his brother, and she is also like to study in abroad, and she is also study higher studies like his brother, and she is also wants liberty like her brother. In the same way, a girl from the poor family, she is expect only she wanted to send her to the school. That means both are the girls, but their aspirations are different. That means the aspirations and goals may be changed from person to person and depend upon the sociological and economical backgrounds. In the same way, let us take one more example. An auto driver who drives his auto by taking hire, one day he would like to become the owner of auto. In this way, we can discuss different aspirations and goals of the people from the different categories. These ideas and aspirations may not be equal to all the people, so that these aspirations and ideas may be changed from person to person and also the time to time. Here, the aspirations and goals of the people may be conflicts in sometimes. Let us see this picture. Ideas of development are vary. Sometimes persons' ideas are different, the government ideas are different, and the society's ideas are different, so that it may be leads to the conflict. So that what may be development for one may not be development for other. It may be destructive even. Let us discuss about these two pictures clearly. What you are observing in these two pictures, we can observe here, this is the people's protest. What they are protesting, why they are protesting. Just you see in this picture, what is the banner? Narmada Bachao Andolan. Narmada Bachao Andolan is a movement, people movement, public protest against the construction of a dam across the river Narmada, so that the people, why the people are opposing it? What is the goals of government to construct this dam? The government is proposed to construct this dam to provide irrigation facility to the large tracts of the agricultural land, and also by generating hydroelectricity, it may supply this electricity to the industrial and domestic and other purposes also. In this way, it may be helpful to the people in the country. But why these people are opposing? That means if the dam is constructed on the Narmada river, the people who are living in the valley may become homeless. In the same way, the people, along with the people, the large area, some thousands of acres of forest area may be drowned in the project waters, so that along with the projects, the life in the forest like animals, birds, all the creatures may be disappear, so that these people are opposed it. When these people are opposed, the persons, the people who are environmental lovers, who are nature lovers, are also supported to these people to oppose the construction of the Narmada dam. If even though the people is provided alternative shelter, but they don't wanted to go any other places, because they are accustomed to live in that place for the generations. They are accustomed to that type of culture. They wanted to leave the nature of the Narmada Valley so that even they are ready to die in the lap of Narmada river. This is the conflict of the government, between the government and the people. In the same way, one more picture is here, that is stop Kudankulam nuclear power plant. That means the government of India proposed to construct a dam at Kudankulam in Tamil Nadu, but the people who are living nearby the power station and the people who are from fisheries family strongly opposed it. Why they are strongly opposed it? Because of these safety measures. Okay, the previous incidents of Chernobyl in Russia, the disaster made the people very fear of the nuclear energy. At that time, a number of people were faced a lot of problems by the radiations. That means by the atomic energy, beta, gamma and alpha, all these rays are emitted from these radioactive matters. So that it may be caused to the genetic mutations, it may cause so many ill health problems to the people. So that in keeping view of that problems, these people are strongly opposed the construction of nuclear power plant at Kudankulam. But even after the strong opposition from the local people, the government constructed the dam, the project, the power plant, but the government taken all the safety measures to control the radiation, to prevent the radiation. That means this is the demand of the people, so that they opposed the construction of the nuclear power plant. That means here the government idea is to provide all the the government idea or goal to provide electricity to agriculture, industries, domestic and all the purposes. But the idea of the government is different from the local people. They are thinking about only the safety problems, so that here we can say like this: what may be development for one may not be development for others. It may be destructive even. Next, let us read or discuss some more goals of the development other than the income. Those are the equal treatment, freedom, security, respect, regular employment and near to the family, so many other than the economical, so many other than income goals of the people. Let us look at this picture. First one is equality. What is the equality? Equality means, according to the Indian Constitution, every citizen of India has given equal opportunities, equal rights, as irrespective of caste, creed, gender and race. But no discrimination should be showed on the basis of any criteria of above. But here all these three children are given equal opportunity to watch behind the wall. But among these, two are able to watch the behind the wall, but the third one is unable to watch behind the wall because his height is not enough to reach the goal. That means here, if all the people are treated equally in India, suppose like in India, some of the communities, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes are deprived since the long period. They faced so many problems of sociological and economical and educational also, so that they won't reach the goals which is fixed by the government only if they followed the equality. That means equity is came into the force, so that some supports are given to other two children. That means by giving support, the first person is removed the support and second and third person is provided some support. In this way, at present they are able to watch all the things behind the wall, so that this is nothing but reservations. To bring the equality, it is not against to the equality. Just let us examine the one more picture here. Here all the students are sit at one, a girl is sit just distance from the class. What is this? It is nothing but a discrimination. Discrimination may be in the different types: caste discrimination, gender discrimination, racial discrimination. Different discriminations are there in the world, so that the people always not thinking about the income goals. They want equal treatment with others. That means they don't want the caste discrimination or gender discrimination. It is also one of the developmental goals of the people. We can say it as a sociological goals. Next one, we can observe this picture. That means this is the picture of the freedom. Nobody would like to work under pressureful conditions, and so that they want some freedom. Even though they paid, but they don't want it to work under the unbearable conditions. So that, for example, we can take it as a bonded labor, so that everybody wanted to, not only a man, not only the need food and shelter and cloth, and also a man needs freedom and the liberty and the security, respect and equal treatment also. Next, some other goals. That means regular employment. Suppose if a person paid low, he is very interested to work if it is the regular job. Even if it is highly paid, if it is not regular, that type of job don't want. Especially among these two, everybody prefer the regular employment. In the same way, if a person got job far away from his family, they don't wanted to go, they don't wanted to leave from their family because of the attachment. That means these are some of the sociological factors of the developmental goals. Next, till we discussed about the sociological dimensions of the development, and different goals are also. Let us discuss about, in the terms of economical dimensions, what is development. Simply we can say that the development is improvement from present position to better position. Improvement from present position to better position. What is the development? How it is measured? Just you observe here GDP, a picture. In this picture you can observe GDP. We can measure the development, economic development, with the help of GDP. What is GDP? GDP means we can expand it as gross domestic product, and also we can define it as the value of goods and services produced in a country in a year. That means the total value of the goods and services which are produced in a year, it is to be treated as the gross domestic, or it may be treated as the income of that country. But the rapid expansion of GDP may coexist with the problems like malnutrition, health, and education. These problems doesn't show in the GDP. Like India, so many people are suffering from malnutrition, illiteracy, and ill health. For that purpose, we have taken into consideration some other considerations to assess or measure the development. Here, one more concept is here, per capita income. What is the per capita income? How can we derive it? Here, the production of a country is known as gross domestic production, that is called the national income. When the national income, suppose you take here per capita income. National income divided by population. Okay, let us take one more example. Suppose in a country the total income is 10,000 rupees. The population in that country is 100. The per capita income is 100 rupees. Here the per capita income is 100 rupees. In this way we can derive the per capita income of a country. That means per capita income is average of the people's income, but it is not perfect to assess the development of a country. In that way, some other considerations are also taking into the consideration for assess or to measure the development. It is also expands the area of the development. Let us come to know all those things now. One more concept is per capita income. What is the per capita? We have already discussed about the per capita income. One more concept is that is the Human Development Index, HDI. We can know it as HDI. HDI means Human Development Index. Simply we can say it as a HDI. It is consisting of different factors such as per capita income, literacy rate, and span of life or life expectancy. These are also comes under the Human Development Index. Actually, this Human Development Index was developed by a Pakistani economist, Mahbub ul Haq, in 1990. Later, it was imposed by Indian economist, the famous economist Amartya Sen. He was imposed the same concept to measure the growth and development of the countries in the United Nations Development Program, so that it has become very popular. That means, let us examine what are the factors of the Human Development Index and how they are deciding the Human Development Index of the country. Here, this chart is given the data about Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal. That means all these countries are neighbor countries of the India. This development index shows the data about 2017. Let us examine clearly about the country Sri Lanka. You take Sri Lanka. Here per capita income is 11,326. Among all these countries, the per capita income is higher than all the following countries. Actually, the India per capita income is also nearly half to the Sri Lanka per capita income. But here, the lowest per capita income is recorded in Nepal. But even though lowest per capita income is recorded in Nepal, the life expectancy is more than the India, Pakistan, Myanmar, here India, Pakistan and Myanmar. Why? Because the environment is very important factor to improve their life expectancy. That means there was less pollution in that country. In the same way, the living style of the people is also one of the climatic conditions. So many conditions are influences the life expectancy of the people. But here the literacy rate, the Sri Lanka stands first. Here the Myanmar stands first. After Myanmar, Sri Lanka stands second position. Even the per capita income is less than half in Myanmar, the literacy rate is very high because the government has taken necessary steps to develop the education, because education is the main, very, very important for the development of the people. So, in the same way, life expectancy, per capita income and literacy rate. The lowest literacy rate is recorded in Bangladesh. The highest literacy rate is recorded in the Myanmar. So that here the income is not criteria for the literacy rate and life expectancy. Whenever we take all these into consideration, we can fix the human development. The other considerations are also expands the measurement of the development, that is the structure of employment. Just you see here this picture, observe this picture. This is the picture, a corporate office with good environmental of the working conditions. Here the people who are working in the construction, that means we can observe here what are the working conditions, what are the facilities of the organized sector and unorganized sector. That means both the organized and unorganized sector are different in the nature and also different in the employment opportunities and leave facilities. Let us discuss clearly about it. Which organizations mainly comes under the organized sector? The government, the big establishments of the companies like Infosys, TCS and the public sector undertakings and the public undertaking societies, all these things comes under the government sector. But mostly in the unorganized sector is out of the government control. Even though they may follow the rules and regulations, may not be followed, because these are all the small and teeny industries. In the same way, the employees in the organized sector, they have security of employment, but in the unorganized sector they don't have any security of employment. They may remove from the job at any time. That means they have to seek employment, they have to seek everyday work. In this way, the organized sector is not safe for employment, and employees also. Next, the fixed working hours. Organized sector has fixed working hours, but unorganized sector doesn't have fixed working hours. It may be depend upon the employer. Regarding the leave rules, the employees in the government sector may enjoy different types of the leaves: earned leaves, medical leaves, and pay with leaves, all these things. But whereas in the unorganized sector, they don't have any leave facilities. They got wages whenever they worked only. That means this is the difference between the organized and unorganized sector. Next, just we have to come to know here, more than 92% of people, 92% of people, not people here, the working force, is in unorganized sector. %92% working force is in unorganized sector. So only the 8% is workforce is in government and organized sector. That means the income is also comparatively the organized sector employees is more when we compare with the workforce of the employees. That means they in the unorganized sector they paid low and their living conditions are also miserable. Let us think some other considerations also may expand the assessment and measuring the development, that is called economic disparities. What are the economic disparities? Just you observe this picture. Here a lot of wealth is controlled by only the few people, but a number of people are not. In this way, they are always thinking about the change. Here they are enjoying a lot of wealth here. Just the people who are with a higher income may enjoy world class facilities, but whereas the large number of people whose income is low and who are the poor, they are facing so many problems. They are unable to meet their necessity of their life to lead their decent life because of unemployment and inadequate income resources. These are the main problems for economic discrimination. So that the governments at present working for the welfare of the people, so that the governments are providing so many welfare schemes. In the same way, let us observe this picture. this is the residential places of the poor. This is the residential place of rich. You can observe what is the difference between the rich and poor and their living conditions. That means economic disparity is nothing but a gap between the rich and poor. Gap between the rich and poor. That means or haves and have-nots. If it is continued for longer time, the unrest maybe takes place in the society. This is the main cause for unrest in the society. Example, nationalism and thefting, all those things are caused by inequality or economic disparities. Let us examine the following graph, which is describe about the economic disparities of people in the country. This data is given on the basis of 2010 survey, 2010 economic survey. (2010) economic survey. Here, not the population is taking. Here, the households are. Households means a family with 2 children, wife and husband. It is called, generally we can say it as a family or household. Here, the families or households are categorized into 4. The first one, deprived. The base, in the base, the most of the households, 135 million households, their income is 1.5 lakhs below. These people are called as deprived. That means they are unable to meet their minimum needs of the food, shelter and clothes. That means even they are unable to meet the minimum requirements of their decent life. In the same way, 71 million households are shown here as aspires. That means whose income is 1.5 to 3.4 lakhs. The one more category of these income group is only the 31 millions, and the very little number of millionaires are there. These are called the rich class. That means we can categorize the people on the basis of different. Here the graph is showing about the wealth and billionaires and billions. That means here 3 billionaires were there in 1996 and 2 billionaires were there in 2006 and 2010 56. Their wealth is also developed a number of times from 212 to 1157 to 11,000. That means the wealth of the nation is possessed in the few people. Okay, till we discussed about the different aspects of the development, especially economic aspects or economic dimensions, social dimensions. Let us discuss about the development regarding the environmental dimensions. Let us think about the environment and development. Here we can say the environment is the natural capital. That means it provides everything for the production. So the environment is called the natural capital. It provides, just you see here, Water is provided by the nature, the land is provided by the nature, the minerals are provided by the nature, the clean air environment is also provided by the nature. How these natural resources are used in agriculture, how it is going to be damaged, what is the measures for the sustainable development, let us clearly discuss about it. Here in the first picture, people are doing plantation or they are cultivating the land, and the second picture, he is spreading the artificial fertilizers like urea and DAP. In the third picture, he is spraying the chemical fertilizers on the crops to protect it. Why? Just what is the relationship between the green revolution and the positive and negative impacts of the green revolution on agriculture and the natural resources? Let us discuss about green revolution is introduced in India at around 1965. The father of green revolution in India is Swaminathan. He is developed high yielding varieties in wheat and rice, and later in the so many crops the high yielding varieties are developed. These high yielding varieties are need a lot of water and the artificial fertilizers and chemical pesticides. In this way, all these things are used in agriculture recklessly, but the green revolution positive impacts are it has satisfied the growing population of the India. If there is no green revolution in India, so many people would have to be died of the starving, but it is satisfied by the green revolution. The negative impacts, if we use it continuously, that means artificial or synthetic fertilizer and chemicals used regularly, the fertility of soil may be destroyed, the land will become like this in this picture. One day it will not be useful to grow the crops. That means what is the alternative for it? That means alternative for the synthetic fertilizers is organic farming is a solution for it. What is the organic farming? We can simply say that growing of the crops without using artificial pesticides and without using artificial fertilizers or nurturing the plants is called organic farming. Just you can observe all these things here. Animals, their dung is used as a manuring to the plants. Here the compost which is prepared by the waste of the garbage and all those things. The next one is vermiculture, that means earthworms makes the fertile land. The another one more is leafy manuring, that means by collecting the leaves, waste leaves, we can compose it as a manuring to the crops. The another one is crop rotation, that means if we continuously cultivated same type of the crop in the same land, it may be loses its fertility. These are the alternative for the green revolution and environmental pollution to check the soil infertility. Next, agriculture and water. Here the crops can be divided into two types, dry crops and wet crops. Dry crops grown on the basis of rainwater, but wet crops needs the irrigation facility. In this way, our food habits are changed from ancient period to present period, so that the groundwater is extracting recklessly for the purpose of irrigation. Just you observe here, Motabavi, this is the ancient method, old method. By this process, they can provide irrigation facility for 1 or 2 acres of land. When the advancement in the science and technology, the electricity and diesel pump sets were invented. In this way, the water is extracted a plenty for the cultivation of the land, for the irrigation of the crops. So that water table is declining gradually. If you observe, at present the bore wells, some are dried up in the summer because the water table is declining day by day. That means the water itself does not produced in the ground. It is the groundwater is improved by the sinking process of the rainwater. So that we have to change our crop system to protect the groundwater. That means we have to switch over to the dry crops, that means which are depend upon the rainwater. And we have to follow the water harvesting systems, like this is the check dam. That means the rainwater is collected nearby the area and they stop by constructing a small dam. This is called check dam. Here contour bonding, that means dig the pits across the slope. In this way we can save the water. The percolation tanks, we can collect the water nearby field and we can allow them sink into the ground. The mission Kakatiya, it is also introduced by the Telangana government to to improve the capacity of the tanks by clearing the silt of the tanks. In this way, we can follow the water harvesting methods to improve the groundwater table. Just instead of chemical fertilizers to protect the environmental pollution, we can use the alternative pesticides for the organic farming, that is called polyculture. That means by growing more than one crop, it may be protected from the insects and birds, and the pests are also. The eco-friendly pesticides like the salt spraying, neem spraying, garlic spray, and natural barriers and predators. Just you see in this picture, the birds are eating the moths. That means we can control by the natural system. These are called the natural barriers and predators. One more aspects of the environment is forest. Day by day, the forest area is declining by the using of forest for the purpose of industries, agriculture, and domestic purposes and furniture and all those things. According to Indian forest policy, we have to maintain 33% or 1/3 of the total land we should be maintained under the forest. But at present, there is only 24.4% of land under the forest. These are the different forests we can observe in the picture. Telangana government started Harita Haram program in 2015 to massive plantation in the public areas, schools, buildings, roadsides, factories, and everywhere. This improves the green coverage. The next, industries are polluting environment, water and everything, so that we have to take preventive measures of the pollution for industrial pollution, to control the industrial pollution. In the same way, as our country, the United Nations developmental goals are also fixed in 2015 to achieve the following goals for the development of the world. Okay, let us take a project. Students, take the project. Prepare biofertilizer by using resources available near to your school garden. Prepare biofertilizer by using resources available near you for your school garden. The second one is, how does the rapid extraction of natural resources adversely impact the future development of prospects? Thank you.